Now I'm going to be showing you how to do the interior zip pocket in the lining. You're going to need one of your lining main panel pieces and your pocket lining piece. I've already prepared this one earlier, but don't worry, I'll show you the steps. So I did fold the main panel in half and I found the center mark, which you can see there. I made a little mark on the wrong side of the lining panel. Then I measure it up on my board and on my cutting board. Then I grab my lining, my pocket lining piece, and I find the center mark on that too. It's on this side, it was. And I measure down 2 inches. I've made a little bit of a boo-boo on mine. I went down 2.5 inches. The pattern says 2 inches. It's up to you. You can go down lower if you like. Just make sure that your pocket lining doesn't get included in the box corners down the bottom, because otherwise your pocket will go underneath into the bottom of the bag and you won't be able to grab your stuff out real easy. So we measure down the 2 inches. We place the pocket lining piece on that 2-inch mark, centered, then pin in place. Once you've pinned in place, then go down another 1/2 inch and draw your 6.5 inch by 1/2 inch box, rectangle box. Make sure it's centered too. You should have approximately 3/4 of an inch on either side of the rectangle box. Once that's done, take that over to your machine and stitch down the long sides of the rectangle box. You don't need to stitch down the ends, that's up to you. I've been doing that in my other patterns, but one of my amazing testers and good friends, Carissa McNaught, actually shared this tip in a wonderful Facebook group dedicated to bag making called Creative Bag Making, run by Kelly. It's a great place for beginners. You'll learn lots of wonderful talented ladies in there to help you with any project you would like to do. Okay, so I've done that. I've stitched down the sides. I also, before I went and stitched, or you could do it after, I drew a middle line down the middle with 2 lines going to the corners, about 1/2 inch in. I cut that with my rotary cutter. I find that if I use my scissors, I used to fold over like that, but it would never line up and it would always be crooked. So I use my rotary cutter. When I get to the ends, I use my scissors for those corners. You just be careful and cut with the point of your scissors, not with those bits, because you will accidentally one day cut straight through. Don't ask me how I know that, but I do. Okay, next part. This is the fun part. So we have to push, now remember, you've got these both right sides together. I know I'm using a very pale, very white fabric. It's a sort of a creamy colour. Right sides together, yeah, and then we push that through the pocket, through the hole that we made through both pieces. Once you take this over to your sewing machine, you will be able to, not sewing machine, sorry, to your iron, and then press it, and it will look a lot better. Okay, I tend to also grab these bits and roll them between my fingers. It helps push out those annoying little dints that it can get, because if you sew over that, well, you can't really go and undo it because it's going to be top stitching and it's very noticeable and it's just annoying when it happens. It doesn't look good. Okay, so I'm going to take that over to my iron and give it a press, and I'll be back to show you how to put the zipper in. Okay, so we're up to the zipper part now. Grab your 7-inch zipper, and what we're going to do is, as you can see, I've already put this one in. We place the zipper on the back through the hole with the right side of the zipper so that it comes through on the right side with the zipper pull, as you can see. Now, some people pin them, glue them. I used to just use my hands to hold it in place, but I found that sometimes it wouldn't work and it would shift. So I actually bought some glue from a craft show I went to. I'm not sure if you can get it in other countries, but it's wonderful. I put a couple of drops on the zipper, lay it down where it needs to go. It doesn't stick straight away, and then I use my iron, but I make sure my iron's warmed up and not turned on. And then you just press around and it sticks and it dries and it works really well. And it doesn't clog your needle or anything. It's really good. So, as you can see, I've gone then over to my machine and I've top stitched around the box. Now, I have a method that I use instead of back stitching on the top stitching. This one didn't work out so well, but you know, we all make little errors. But what I've done is I've ended right there. As you can see, I was out of touch. Then I leave the threads long and I pull them through to the other side, as you can see here. I tend to always start at the top of the zipper box, because then when I go to sew the lining up, you can catch these threads in it and sew them to the back, or tie a thread in them, tie a knot in them, do whatever makes you feel more comfortable. But if you do them at the bottom, you can't catch them in the pocket, so you will have to tie a knot in them. Once they're sewn in, then I trim them off. So there we go, we have the zipper pocket. Now make sure that these little ends are not in your stitching way. I've actually caught them before, so you make sure you center that zipper properly, or use a longer zipper if you feel more comfortable. So we trim them off now, and once they're trimmed off, I'll just use these. I don't have another pair of scissors in here. My other ones must be outside, because I'm not going to use my good sewing ones. So we'll cut those ends off so that we don't sew over them when we're doing the pocket lining. I have hit them before with my needle, and even my Juki, it did not like that, so I swore I would never do it to her again. Okay, so we pin that in place. Because we're going to be sewing down on this side, I prefer to sew on the shorter side. Put my pin in. I don't use a lot of pins, because when you've got an industrial with a flat table, everything tends to sit really good, and the Juki it doesn't really like pins on certain things, but on this you need it. So I don't bother with the sides, but you can add your pins. Now I'm going to go sew that, and I'll be straight back. Okay, as you can see, I've sewn around all three sides of the pocket lining piece. I've caught my threads in there from my top stitching, which I will trim down. We go back to the front. Needs a bit of a press. Open the zipper, and we have our pocket. But it's not going to stay that way, because pardon me, because this bag actually pulls through the pocket once we're done. We turn the bag inside out. For new bag makers, you'll hear that a lot when it comes to bag making. Bags are actually done sort of inside out. Okay. So we trim off the tiniest piece just to open that up. You could do two pieces, separate pieces, and sew them on like that, but I find this to be the quickest way. Less math. And we all love less math, don't we? Even me, who's really good at math, but make it a lot easier. So that's done for now, and I'm going to put this bit away, and I'm going to be working on the zipper closure for the bag next.